Good evening and welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting on March 25th, 2024. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify himself or herself, including an address, and the name of any organization represented, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Anyone wishing to speak on an item on the agenda should come forward after the clerk has read that item. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call our first item of business?
Our first item of business on today's City Council meeting for March 25th, 2024 is our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and 3.
Is there anyone here to speak on our consent agenda? Director, welcome. You must be Adrian.
Yes.
All right, Director, please.
Yes, good evening, I guess. It's Maggie Stokey-Ross, Director of Parks and Recreation. Excited to bring our newest student nominee to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board before you today, Adrian Lauer, who goes to Lincoln Southwest High School. As you know, we have 2 student members. You'll note the date for his term ends in May of 2024, but I hope he's willing to stay for another year beyond that. So you're not just giving us a 2-month member, but as the terms go, we need to end that in May. So give Adrian a chance to introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Adrian. I am a junior at Southwest High School. And the reason I want to join the Parks and Rec Board is because I personally I want to start serving the community more, and I would like to, and I'm personally interested in the Parks and Rec creations at Lincoln, like Pioneers Park and the trails.
All right. Very good. Well, Adrian, thank you, first of all, for your willingness to serve our community in this capacity. We really appreciate it. Let me take a quick, let me ask my fellow colleagues here really quickly if they have any questions for you. Okay?
I do.
Councilwoman, please.
Thank you for being willing to step up. You have an impressive resume for being still in high school. I usually ask every nominee to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board this question, but do you have a favorite park or trail here in Lincoln?
I would say Pioneers Park because I run there for cross country all the time.
Aha. We were just talking about Pioneers Park and its cross country mates. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Adrian? Yes, Tom.
You like the hills at Pioneers Park when you run?
Well, just because you like a park does not mean that you have to like all aspects.
Spoken like a true
Good
park
answer.
professional.
Good
Good answer.
Yeah. Good
Skilled
answer,
answers.
Adrian.
Very skilled.
Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like that's, oh, yes, Councilman.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for being willing to serve our city, Adrian. I think it's really important that we have young voices at the table. And like Sandra said, your resume is exceptional. And so I'm really happy you're going to serve us in this capacity.
Thank you.
Very good. That's all we need. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on anything on our consent agenda? Those are items listed under sections 1, 2, or 3. Anyone else for the consent agenda? All right, Madam Clerk, let's walk through those votes.
Item 1A is appointing Adrian Lauer to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term to expire May 31st of 2024, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Items 2A through 2E were introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington, discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay, that concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to section 4, which is our public hearing resolutions. Item 4A is appeal of special assessment revolving committee recommendation regarding water and wastewater districts generally located at Southwest 6th Street and High Street.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, council members. Laura Peglis with LTU Asset Management. So I have 3 items before you today. So this first one, in an informal petition, a paving, water, and wastewater special assessment district request was submitted for Southwest 6th and West High Street by Kay Pickett. Prior to a special assessment district request coming before City Council, to have the districts created, it goes before the Special Assessments Revolving Committee, also known as the SAR Committee, and so they meet to review district requests. They met on November 29th of last year, and they recommended to not forward these 3 district requests to the City Council. Then on January 22nd of this year, the requester submitted an appeal of the SAR Committee decision to the City Council. On that appeal, the requester is appealing only the water and wastewater districts for Southwest 6th Street, south of West High Street, withdrawing the paving district. And I will put a map up here so that you can see where that area is located. So the yellow district is the district that was withdrawn, and the 2 districts that are being appealed today are the blue and green lines for the water and wastewater districts. If the City Council approves the appeal today, the requested water and wastewater districts proceed with all steps to create a special assessment district, meaning that it will go through the full process from the beginning. And the water and wastewater districts may or may not be created through that process. And should you deny the appeal today, the requested water and wastewater districts would not move forward through the district process, and the water and wastewater construction would not proceed through the district process. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them on this process.
Councilman Duden, please.
Why was this initially denied?
It was initially denied. Thomas, do you want to speak to part of that?
Thomas Schaefer, Assistant Director of Transportation for Lincoln Transportation Utilities. So this was initially not recommended by the committee because a special assessment should exist for overall community benefit, and it was felt like this was such a limited area that this was more so a development issue and not an overall community issue for the health and safety of the community. So it was denied on that basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Either one of you can respond, but I am very curious if the other property owners adjacent to this proposed district have been, what have been their reactions? I saw the letters that went to them, but I'd like to know if you have any insight into their reactions to the assessment district.
So we have sent multiple letters out informing the other property owners that this district was a possibility. We sent several different letters out, and none of those letters were returned to us, nor did I get any responses from any of the other property owners that are along these southern properties.
Thank you.
Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you guys for coming forward. Thomas, you said you can't, I wish I wrote down what you said, but benefit to the community, and you, not your words, mine, benefit to one or two individuals. I'm not sure how you say that again.
Sure, I said that the committee felt like a district usually should have benefit to the whole community. We're going to be borrowing funds to help pay for this, and so if the community is going to be contributing to this, it should have an overall benefit to the community. It was felt like with the limited resources that we have and the limited scope of this,
Like
that
the
it was
scope.
benefiting a certain segment of developable properties.
So I thank you for doing that, and I appreciate it. And I think what I was looking for, and you quite rightfully enumerated, the scope. How many properties would this positively affect? How many property, when you define community, is there a chance it could be at a level where it would be beneficial to the community if it encompassed more properties?
So there are 15 properties along this stretch. All of those properties are currently undeveloped. And it is on a gravel, undeveloped, unmaintained road at this time.
And the area to the south is large acreages that have not expressed an interest in doing in development, and they would not be served by this at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you explaining that.
Other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay, very good. Thank you both very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4A? Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Hi. My name is Kay Pickett, and please forgive me. This is the first time I've been in one of these sessions, and I appreciate your the opportunity that you allowed me to come in today. I am one of the owners at this property on Southwest 6th Street. I'm seeking an approval of this project as a citizen and a taxpayer. I would like to address the need for the Special Assessment District project that is being requested. The Southwest 6th Street is an undeveloped property which has been annexed into the city of Lincoln as living into the city limits. As a full taxpayer and citizen, I am therefore asking for the basic necessary human rights for access to basic water, sewer, and sanitation that is required as a citizen. Without this, we are not able to build. I've talked to several of the owners within this property that they discussed that in the blue and green area, because their concern is that without the water and sewer, we're not able to start building. We're not able to even seek, any type of assistance without this special assessment. This is a benefit to us because we are taxpayers. I bought this property in 2015. I wanted to start developing my property, but then learned that none of these properties had any water and sewer line running through that, even though the city of Lincoln had just put in some water and sewer line on some of the other older properties and stopped at the adjoining area that we're seeking this special assessment. I've also learned that in order to start building on this as an individual, it would be my responsibility to start building up the streets, the water, the sewer, to accommodate all others. I am not a property developer. I'm an individual who bought some property to seek just to build for my family for future use. So again, as a taxpayer, the basic infrastructure would assist all the small property owners that are just trying to move forward to build homes for their family. We're not big-time project developers, just citizens and taxpayers. And we feel that this is something that infrastructure is not a burden, but these also was explained to me that the special assessment project would just be as if any big-time developer would use it. It would come back and he would just put that in his development for the developer that living there to pay for. We would know that this is going to be added into our taxes. So therefore, I'm being taxed anyway. My taxes went up this year, will be going up this year. And I have not been able to even use this property since 2015. But it's keep going up and up and up. So why not ask the city to assist us in that special assessment development? This is something that is necessary. This is not an area that is unneeded. We need the water and sewer to live. This is something that is very important to me. Again, I spoke with many of the landowners in there, and their biggest concern is, well, I can't get in there because I don't have that type of money. Many of the ones that I've talked to have said, I would have been the build, but I'm not able to build up the streets on my, finance. My hope and goals are to build a single-family dwelling home or a duplex, which will benefit my family for generations to come and can enjoy the living space. Again, I'm going to thank you for having this time to come to before you and ask the city to consider this special assessment for the citizen and taxpayer that's within this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pickett. We appreciate you coming down. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions for you. Any questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Ms. Pickett, thank you for coming down. Would you, if on the map, would you show us which parcel is yours?
Oh.
At the end of the property?
We will get you a copy of that map here. Thomas will
Thank you.
put it up on the screen for us.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
These are helpful.
I believe you're the first three right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Those three?
I am showing the last four digits 4000, 5000, and 6000.
That appears to be correct. Yes, ma'am. Those three.
Oh, speaking to the mic.
No, those appear to be correct. The three that you that were just pointed out
Okay.
appear to be correct.
40506. Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman, any other questions?
You said you spoke to the other property owners?
Yes.
In this area. What did they have to say, and are any of them here present?
That I am not aware of. I do know that when I last spoke with them, they said that they are more than willing to. They knew that the street would be a gigantic amount, and they were saying, that is just too much. It was a great big bill.
Mm-hmm.
I did receive it from the city, but the water and sewer is something we need. They're saying was told to me that the street is something that, as far as their knowledge is, it does have wear and tear on their vehicles, and I understand that, and the reason I asked for the appeal is the basic water is needed. These are just basic living needs, the water and the sewer. I know some of the owners that I spoke to did say, they was using well water, and then the city came in and put in up to the point water lines and sewer lines. So that is why I'm seeking this at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Duden?
Can you tell me when that area was annexed by the city?
I don't know when it was annexed, but I was speaking to some of the homeowners. I do know that when I moved to Lincoln, which was in 1982, that area was considered another district. But as far as when the time the city did that, I do not know.
Other questions, Councilman?
I'd like to ask that same question to Mr. Schaefer.
Okay, let's see if we have any other questions for you before we let you go. Any other questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Thanks so much for coming down. I just have a couple of quick questions, and if you're not able to answer any of these, let me know, and I'll direct them to the staff later on. So just to kind of get a base understanding, you own land that does not have a house on it, and you're unable to build because there's not sewer and water that goes to your property, correct?
That's correct.
When you bought the property, did the person that you buy the property from tell you that there wasn't water or sewer going to?
No, they did not. The realtor did not let me know that. And that is another thing that I'm afraid of. If I was to go and sell, I would not be able to sell without giving that information over to the next homeowner that are willing to buy, because they might not be aware that, okay, this is in the city limit. Why isn't there any sewer? And that was my surprise. I did not know this until I started seeking the information and say, hey, I'm ready to build on that. But you can't, because you need those streets and the water have to be brought up to code. I'm like, what is the code?
Right.
So this was a total surprise to me. No.
And were you part of the original process when the special assessment district was put
No,
in?
I was not.
Okay. How long ago did you buy your property?
I bought this in 2015, 2017. I believe it was more 2017 though.
Okay. When the assessment process came up about a year ago, sometimes petitions are handed around. Do you know anything about the work that was done for folks to sign a petition for the special assessment district?
No, I do not.
Okay. I might have questions for you later since you're the original applicant of this, but those are the only questions that I have right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let me see if there's anyone else here who would like to speak on this item before we get to staff questions. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? If so, please come on down. And we do have 2 microphones here, so if there are other speakers that are interested in speaking, if we can get the next speaker to come on down to the other microphone and get ready, we will take testimony after this lady. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you, and I'm sorry that I didn't sign up beforehand, and thank you for letting me speak. I'm one of the property owners. I have a small lot.
I think we want it back.
Sorry.
Let the people see her face. I'm sorry.
Could you also state your name and address?
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry. My name is Kari Ronning, Karironning.
Okay.
Okay.
And your address?
Oh, I live at 3415 N Street.
Thank you.
Here in Lincoln.
Thank you.
I own the first property shown there. There's 2 duplexes there that are the last buildings on the street. A few years ago, the property has, we get the water from the well, which is inspected, as per code. But there's been the sewer there for as long as I've owned the place, which is since the 1990s. A few years ago, special assessment came for the water line down to the end of my property, essentially. So I've been paying on that. There's a half lot, I guess, is the one that's included in why I have been getting the letters on this. So there's a half lot that is essentially part of the yard of one of the duplexes. So I understand the problems with developing, but I feel like I'm going to be double assessed here. So I'm not totally opposed to this, but I just wanted to speak as a property owner there. And I apologize for not responding to the letters, but I did want to come down here today. So, do you have any questions?
All right, thank you. Let me see if my colleagues have any questions. Any questions at all for our testifier? Councilman, please.
Ma'am, would you benefit if you had city water and sewer?
Well, I do have the sewer. I don't know that I would particularly benefit. I don't really have plans to sell these, but
You have buildings on there now?
yes, there are 2 duplexes that are they're part of the previous assessment. And they have city sewer, but I haven't hooked up to city water because of the well.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. I have, I'm going to probably ask one question of staff about the water since the sewer. Since you've already hooked up to city sewer, you wouldn't be benefited by a second sewer assessment. The water line, does it come past your property? Does it end in front of your property, or?
It ends at my property.
It ends
right.
at your property, so you could.
At the end of my property.
Okay, so you could tap into the water if you chose?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's still my option with the previous assessment, the previous water line.
Yeah, and you are within the city limits?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Other questions for our testifier? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 4A? Anyone else here for item 4A? All right, Mr. Schaefer, I think we have some staff questions. Who would like to start? Councilwoman.
Thank you. So if a property, like Ms. Roning's property, has already been assessed for sewer and water, and she's already tapped into the sewer, why is this property within the assessed district, or the
I
proposed?
think we're gonna draw you a picture here. It may help clear up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And, no, I'm going to hold that second question. I'll wait to see your drawing.
Okay.
So she lives on these 2 properties with home, with a
Okay.
duplex. She owns properties south that do not have homes on them, but are kind of considered part of the bigger yard.
Okay.
So she has developed and undeveloped properties
Thank
that
you.
she owns.
Okay.
And that previous district here to the north, Water District 1205, was a special assessment district, and that went up to Prospector and to the west to West High. So that is why that is not included in this district, and that was levied in 2015.
How long does a person get to wait to hook up? So if you're in an assessment district and it's already been levied and it's closed, do you have to ever hook up to that, to the city water or sewer?
I'm looking to see if there's someone from health that knows more than me.
Dave can answer part of this too, because there's a footage requirement.
Dave Myersdorf, Lincoln Transportation and Utilities, Lincoln Water System. A person does not have to connect to the water system unless their well goes bad.
Okay.
And then if they're within 300 feet of a tappable water main, then they would be required to connect to the water system.
We have Chris here, but I think we have our question answered.
Chris Schroeder, City County Health Department.
I had a question about the time at which someone needed to hook into city water if they had a water line within.
Right. So for water wells, even if water is available, they don't have to connect. Only time they have to connect if that water well failed, then they could not drill another potable well.
And they could not drill in, so are they given the option of trying to drill another potable well?
No.
No. So once their well doesn't pass inspection, they have to,
Or if it fails, yes. Yep.
okay.
That's correct.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't go far, Chris. We might
Oh,
have
we'll
more.
be here.
You never know.
Okay. Other questions for city staff? Yes, Councilman.
I wanted to find out, when was this land annexed?
2009.
Other questions, Councilman? Okay. Councilman Show?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Laura, would you put that map back up again and show me where the other district is and where the water line, sewer lines end?
Let me give you a different map.
Oh, thank you. I'm also going to ask how much distance between, how much would it cost to connect, and who's going to pay and how long, and lots of other.
Okay. So this will show you the current water and wastewater lines. Water is in blue, wastewater is in green. And let me,
Pretty much where that line is where the water and sewer currently ends.
And our, Ms. Pickett's property is where again, the 3 spaces on the west there? Those,
these right here, but it's not letting me write on the ink.
Point to it, that's.
There.
Is it possible that Ms. Pickett could hook into the water without an assessment district?
Yes,
Okay. And the same with the wastewater?
yes.
How?
How?
Yeah, can you explain how?
She would have to,
Hang on, I want to, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Schaefer.
sorry. She would get an engineer, like anybody who's doing a developable project. They would produce plans, and she could get a private construction agreement or an EO, like we do with many of our developable properties that occur around the community. Hire a contractor and foot that cost.
the cost would be the next question, about $500,000?
The cost for 160, we estimate at 160 feet. Of course, this is going to be a pretty high cost because it's just 360 feet, and you got to get a contractor to wake up and pay attention and come out and help. But we estimate that could be $100,000 to $120,000 to do that.
And you're not the applicant in this, but that would be one of the reasons why you would want to do a special assessment to spread that cost out over properties and time, correct?
So it would be two reasons that somebody would probably ask to do this. One, to spread that cost over, but mainly with the when we do a water or sewer district, we're doing it for health reasons. That's why the one to the north, it had many homes, occupied homes with wells that were failing, people that needed that protection and that safety. We capped that at $65 a foot. So there's a difference here in that someone who's has no home and wants to develop something is asking for a $65 cap instead of paying the entire thing like most other people who are developing brand new ground.
Okay.
So 160, I'm not going to try to do math in front of you. If you want, I'll put my calculator out and do 160 times 65, but you can probably see the difference there.
A big number.
It's about $10,000 so
per district.
per district.
And when somebody, if, in the past when we've done districts like this, they're usually assessed as a tax on the property over a number of years?
The
city
property
does-
owner would have the option. Yes, it's a lien, kind of like a lien against the property or an assessment against the property. And they have 20 years in the case of water.
They have
and
20
wastewater.
years for water and wastewater to pay. They
They
can,
do not have to wait that entire time if
So the city would be upfront and doing the development of the improvements. The property owner would pay us back over time.
correct.
for their portion of the front footage. It's $65 per front foot for water and $70 per frontage foot for wastewater. Any cost above and beyond that is covered by city water and city wastewater, so by LTU.
All the taxpayers would take care of it.
All the taxpayers would then be subsidizing the remaining cost of 90 to,
And you said there's an assessment district to the northeast of that now,
Yes.
and that was established in 2015?
2015 is when it was levied. I don't have the exact construction date, but most likely it was constructed the year prior.
Prior. And that goes for a period of time before that assessment's completed? Do you have that date?
It would be 20 years.
20
So it would be
years.
2035 if one chose to pay it off in 20 years. You can pay the full amount when it is levied and avoid interest, because there is an interest rate set for future payments, and the finance department determines that interest rate based upon the bond that is purchased.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for indulging me.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I've got some questions. As I'm hearing this, it kind of sounds like that we'll be in this situation again, because, I mean, the well is not going to last forever, right? So, like, when the well does eventually fail, then even more properties are going to need to have access to water and sewer, unless I'm misunderstanding something.
I do not believe there's wells on any of these properties right now.
No.
Well, the one, yes, her property is near the district, right, or the requested district.
But you can see this, sorry, you can't see
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I believe, did she not give her address as 3124 or 3132?
Those are my properties.
Those are,
So
So
they
you see
end
there's
there.
31, my fat finger's not in the way. 3124 and 3132 have homes, and the water pipe is in front of her
Okay,
home.
gotcha.
She can come tap that pipe that is in front of her houses. She has property at 3138, but there's no structure on that, hence no well there to serve.
It's like, this one's part of the district too.
Okay, but that's kind of a side, so it'd be whatever, 31,
Yeah.
34? I don't know.
I have a question.
hold on just a
Oh, sorry,
moment.
go
Let
ahead.
me see if Councilman Bowers is done.
So if she wanted to build a home at 3138, she could not put a well there.
Unless the special assessment district went through, and then that would and then they did put sewer and water, then they could
She
permit.
could not put a well in.
No, but if they were to build on the property that currently does not have access to water, if the special assessment district did go through, then that would then become a buildable property.
Then it would become available property, or she could extend the water in front of it at her own cost.
The other question that I have, if we vote to extend the special assessment district, would Ms. Pickett then still have to go get petitions and signatures? Because I noticed that in one of the forms it said that there was not enough petitions that were submitted in.
The water and wastewater districts don't require a greater than 50% petitions. That would have been for the paving district, which requires more people to approve it.
Perfect.
So because it is considered a health concern typically, that one requester can bring forward a water or wastewater district.
Great. That answered my next question, because as I was looking in the city code, I was like, I don't see anything about needing a petition for wastewater sewer, just the paving and ornamental light districts. Those are the questions that I have for right now. If Councilman Washington wants to.
I'm following along on Councilman Bowers' questions, but, and this might be for the health department. I'm going to wait for him to come forward again. Thank you, Chris. Once a property has come into the city limits of Lincoln, can they dig a well for their water use?
Not a potable well, no. Not for drinking water. That's
So
in
the
the
only way
ordinance.
for these properties to be developed is with city water.
Well, I mean, if right now if they're in the city and water is not available per LTU, then they can get a construction permit for a potable water well. That makes sense, because water is not available. But
Water's not, so as long as water is not available, they are allowed to drill a
yes,
well.
for a potable. Yep.
Can you define what not available is?
That'd be a question for Dave, because we do contact LTU and ask for the determination if water is available or not.
Yeah.
Dave Beiersdorf, LTU. Water's considered to be available if there's a tappable main within 300 feet of the premises being served. And a tappable main is anything 16 inches and smaller in size.
So there is a tappable main.
Not in front of this property, there is not right now. That's
Within
why-
300 feet?
It's within 300 feet, yes. So they could get a non-abutting agreement because they're not a water main abutting the property. So if they're within 300 feet, they could get that abutting agreement. And that agreement still ties them that if there's a water district in the future, they would still be assessed the cost of that water district in front of their properties. But they could connect ahead of that water main going in by basically tapping the main up to the north of their property.
And that's that $100,000 plus cost.
The non-abutting agreement is just basically them getting a tap and running their service from that water main. But again, should that water main get extended in the future, then they would pay that district cost in the future.
And then for wastewater, are they allowed to, do we allow the creation of septic fields within the city of Lincoln?
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky, because in our ordinance, the system has to be on at least a 3-acre lot for lots created after, I believe, 1989. So I'd have to go back and look at the plot map to find out when those lots were platted. And that I don't have access to information. Do you know when the lots were platted?
No. Okay.
No, but I'm saying when they were actually final platted, the year.
You have to research.
Yeah,
that
we'd
and
have
get
to.
that back.
I can pull up the plat real quick.
I'm on the assessor's site right now.
Do you have other questions, Councilwoman?
I don't. I'm looking for, I'm trying to get enough information to understand what the workaround is for an individual. And I don't mean to scam the system. I mean, what are the options for a property owner to develop a lot inside the city limits that does not have easy access to wastewater and water?
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Thomas, I want to ask you a question, but I'm also going to bring up Director Carey as well. Thomas, could you, as Director Carey walks up here, perhaps the two of you could also discuss how property development works in this city, how people get utilities to their land in this city. Perhaps, David, you could opine on the number of lots in this city that could be buildable but for utilities. This is not a unique situation at all in the city of Lincoln. Could you guys talk a little bit about how this process works?
Yeah, I can opine a bit. David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. I thank you for the opportunity to kind of put some context to this. So, as a member of the Special Assessment Committee that reviews these things and puts forward a recommendation, the thinking on this one in particular is that the way that when looking at this as a potential development site, because the lots that would be served by this extension of the services are undeveloped, and we are looking at them as if they're just an opportunity for development, and therefore the city should be looking at this as land that somebody could find as an investment opportunity, and then they, as they would normally do with any development, put the pipes in the ground literally and make the lots developable. So that's how we have looked at this one.
These owners could do at any time.
They could do that. Now, I'm not going to totally blush over the fact that there's a cost to that, but there's a cost to anyone that wants to develop land in the city or just outside the city that would be then annexed into the city. And to answer your question, I don't have a number of how many lots are in this condition or in this situation, but there's a lot of those as well. So throughout the city, you could have an area that doesn't have access to city water yet, but is annexed and has lots platted out. But they would need to put the investment in to be able to make those lots developable. And as was already pointed out, there are some nuances to that, because if you're within the 300 feet, as Dave just mentioned, that's the the limit of how you, when you have to hook up if you're in the city and you want to build on your property. And that might be a different cost than actually extending the actual water line because it's not as hefty of a cost. But then obviously you can't, at some point, if you want to go further south in this situation, you have to extend the pipe at some point to make those other lots developable. So that's the thinking behind this recommendation to you, is that we're looking at this area as a development opportunity that the city would not typically pay for the investment in the infrastructure.
Any other questions for staff? Yes, Councilman?
So, to be clear of what I'm hearing you say, is because there would still be a cost to the owners of the lot. What you're talking about, the cost to the city, is that difference between what it would cost and what the property owners would pay.
Correct, and I think that that's, for the purposes of the city's position on this, is that that's, in this case, somewhere in the range of the city paying for 90% of the cost, which we typically are not involved in that ever, really.
So like 90% of the 120.
Correct.
Okay.
Something that might be a rough number.
Right. Not taken as gospel. Why? So if this was approved before, how come? Do either of you know why this has not moved forward, or it was not the sewer and water put in during the time frame allowed?
You say when this was approved, you mean when this was platted as a lot?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, there was a special, the request to create a water special assessment district was approved in the past, and we are focusing on appealing, revoking it, right? What has not been put in the past. So
It has not been approved in the past.
Okay.
Right.
It was requested and the committee recommended no.
So, because I read somewhere in the notes that you had sent over that there would only be requesting repeal due to lack of majority petitions received, and stating that such ordinances be repealed after 1 year of creation.
That's another item we're talking about tonight.
Oh, okay.
We have several items on the agenda
There's
tonight.
lots of assessment districts today.
Okay, now it's becoming clear to me. Okay, thank you for walking me through that. That makes a lot more sense to me.
All done?
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Shope?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Carey, thanks for coming forward. Councilman Washington, I think we've all kind of been looking at, is there other options and how can we figure out other things to do this? This is going to sound weird, but did you have those conversations with the applicant or the appellant? Provide all the options available. Have you thought, the things we're trying to come up with here at the dais, have you guys already thought of these things, is what I'm asking. Are we traveling new territory, or has this already been covered once or twice?
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer or a planner, so I'm not sure.
We had not discussed individually having her do the lots. We did talk about that it would be all of her cost if she developed just her 3 lots.
And those numbers were shared too, so to the best of your ability, yeah. Because with inflation, we're not sure what they're going to cost tomorrow, no less right at this moment. Thank you. That's my question. Have we done this? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both. Thank you all 3. Thanks, Laura.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, very good. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on to 4B.
Item 4B is resolution authorizing the Lincoln Lancaster County Public Building Commission to proceed with property purchase at 815 K Street.
Karen, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Karen Peterson. I am the administrator for the Public Building Commission, 920 O Street. The resolution you have before you would allow the Public Building Commission to enter negotiations with the property owner that has the remaining 3 parcels on a block that is entirely zoned public. In fact, those parcels are owned roughly 50% county, 50% city ownership. The block is 117. The easiest way for me to describe that block to you is it's just to the west across Ninth Street, and that little cute Aging Partners Fitness Center building, that's right in the middle of it, so if that helps you. Up on the northeast corner, we have our district energy plant. That is the plant that provides hot and chilled water that heats and cools 5 buildings, including this one. It's a really important element to the Public Building Commission, and it served us well over the years. There's been some interest in some private development close by. The reason why we're looking at it now, well, first of all, the owner approached District Energy and Urban Development, so that's a win right away when there's somebody that's interested in selling it. But also for District Energy to serve any other development, they're pretty much at capacity right now, and they're kind of squeezed on their corner. The PBC had some additional ice tank storage built a couple of years ago. We have a building at the end of the block, 605 South 10th Street. I'm beginning to fill those up. I've got some empty spaces in there for court space. We need to serve that. So that's already in place. But for really anything significant beyond that, the construction, if we don't get those parcels into horizontal construction, vertical construction is far more expensive and cost prohibitive. So the timing just seemed right to do this, and then to have an entire block that is owned as in public, it just makes it so much more flexible.
And a public block that's adjacent to the existing campus.
Exactly. That is part of that plan, is to keep this centrally located and to leave the other areas to the private developers. Sure.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate you coming down.
Sure.
Any questions for Karen at all? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4B? All right, seeing none, let's move on to, that's it, actually, with our public hearing resolutions.
We can vote on these items. Item 4A is Appeal of Special Assessment Revolving Committee Recommendation regarding water and wastewater districts generally located at Southwest 6th Street and High Street, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion? Yes, Councilman Shob.
I am sorry, Mr. Chair, but I do this every time. We're going to vote on an appeal. Think Mr. Christie needs to come up and help us walk through this. There was some conversation during the testimony about approvals and denials, and it's kind of different than I've seen before.
So I think that the way that it is in front of you, and I have, I think I understand where your question.
Yes,
that's why I
please.
started coming up. Yohansi Christie, City Attorney.
Thank
a
you, Mr.
vote
Christie.
no would be denying the appeal, and a vote yes. Oh, I have
I think
someone
it's
coming
backwards
up.
on this one.
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I think it depends what the motion was, because
Yeah.
you have 2 resolutions available to you.
Madam Clerk, do we know if the motion was for approval or denial?
The 2 resolutions I have are for both, whether if it is for approval or denial.
What did you read?
Appeal Special Assessment Revolving Committee Recommendation regarding the water districts. It doesn't really state clearly to me.
You said moved by Councilwoman Washington, second. We didn't
yes.
say approve or deny.
No, she just said so moved.
So I think there needs to be a motion to grant the appeal or a motion to deny the appeal.
We have a resolution for both, Abby.
Right.
So, Councilwoman Washington, do you want to make a
That
would be the
clarification?
Clarify
as
your
to whether
motion.
or not your resolution's granting appeal or denying appeal?
My resolution, no, my motion will be to, I think the simplest way is to move approval.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion?
I'll say this, and I don't know.
You're good. I thought it was going to be a city attorney thing.
No, I don't know if there's an appetite for this or not, but I've been on the council for 5 years, and even I had a little bit of a hard time understanding this. And I would be interested in having another 2 weeks to review this. We are in a housing crisis. We do need to make sure that we are doing everything we can for buildable, to make buildable lots, and to make sure that we are being fair to folks across the city at the same time. I don't know if there's an appetite for my colleagues to ask for a 2-week delay, or I'm open to 2-week delay.
I would approve of that.
I would too.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot of material right here to understand, and I'm not sure I quite understand it myself yet.
Thank you, Councilman.
Other comments?
So you're making a motion for that?
Yes.
We have comment. Let's go through
Sorry,
comments
thank you.
first.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Other comments?
Councilman Bowers, I respect your request. I was wondering if 1 week would be enough, or are you set on 2 weeks?
I am open to however long people think. So, I mean, Brody, Tom,
But
saw
I
an
mean,
appetite for you guys.
I appreciate that there's a lot of information here and you want more time, and I professionally, as a courteous thing, I will grant more time, but I would vote to grant more time, but I just wondered
Sure.
if it really was 2 weeks or 1 week, how much more time?
Would you be able this would be without continued public hearing. Would you be able to come next week, Ms. Pickett, to make sure that you'd be here for it? Okay. I'm fine with 1 week if Brody and Tom are.
Fine with me.
All right.
Okay. Before we get to Councilman Bauer's motion, I will just state that I'm perfectly fine with giving my colleagues time to wade through the information. But I think it's really important here to understand that the basis of what we're talking about here is how we allow development to occur in the city and who pays for that development. And if the city were to start to pick up the expenses of improving infrastructure to lots in this way that we do not for the vast majority of lots built in the city of Lincoln, I fear that we are setting a precedent here that could be problematic moving forward. But I understand that folks may need more time to weigh that. So Councilman Bowers, do you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I would make the motion for a delay of 1 week without continued public hearing. Like I said, I've been on the council for 5 years. I don't really ask for delays that often, so I really appreciate the courtesy of having another week.
Is there a second?
Oh, hold on. Council
yes.
Chair, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Council
ma'am.
Chair. We still have Councilwoman Ward's motion for, or I'm sorry, Washington. I'm so sorry. Washington on the table for approval. We would need to have a withdrawal of that motion
I think
first.
she will withdraw.
I will withdraw that motion. I want the motion to delay to move forward.
So moved by Councilman Bowers for a 1 week delay, seconded by Councilman Duden. And we are ready for the roll whenever you are ready.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Mr. Christie, is there anything that I need to do to withdraw besides just saying I'm verbally withdrawing? All right, thank you.
Let's move on to 4B.
Item 4B is resolution authorizing the Lincoln Lancaster County Public Building Commission to proceed with property purchase at 815 K Street, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Yes,
I just wanted
Councilwoman?
to say that I sit on the Public Building Commission. This item came before us at PBC, and I voted to move this project forward. I'm going to be consistent in my vote, and I'm going to vote to approve when given the chance.
All right, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay. That concludes section 4 of our agenda. Section 5 is public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. Item 5A is creating special assessment water district 1211 for the purpose of constructing a 12-inch diameter water main in Fletcher Avenue from North 7th to North 14th Streets.
Hello, welcome again.
Hello, Laura Peglis with LTU Asset Management. So this is another water district. For this one, an informal petition was requested for Fletcher Avenue between North 7th and North 14th Streets by Keith Spilker. So the petitioner does not have access to an abutting water main. Their property is currently, the water on the property is currently provided by their private well. The petitioner is concerned that should the well fail, the property would not have access to water. The proposed district includes 10 properties. The proposed 12-inch water main would run along Fletcher Avenue from North 7th to North 14th and would also add several fire hydrants in the area. The city is increasing the size of the water main to a 12-inch to service the city, and that increased size would be subsidized by the city. The properties would be assessed based on their front footage calculation at $65 a frontage foot. The Special Assessment Revolving Committee met on this district on November 29th last year, and they recommended forwarding this district to you. LTU has communicated with the abutting property owners, beginning with an introductory letter in October, followed up by a postcard in December, and then we held an open house at the Isley Branch Library on December 18th. And at that open house, LTU staff from Water, Asset Management, and Communications were there to answer questions and to provide information. Property owners representing 7 of the 10 properties attended that meeting. The estimated cost of this project is $1,165,000 based on construction in 2025. The assessments to the property owners would total approximately $330,000. The remaining $835,000 would be paid by Lincoln Water.
Questions?
Any questions?
Questions for staff? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you.
Should I leave the map up?
Let's do that. Thank you. Anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Greg Roseberry, and I represent the property at 700 Fletcher Avenue. It's the corner property here. We are part of the proposed water district that you're going to vote on soon. There are a total of 10 properties involved, and I believe we are the most recent house to be built in this community. Our home was completed in May of 2023. At that time, we were discussing with our builder about utilities. I reached out to all of the utilities to find out what would be necessary to get them to our new house. Since LES has already had service to our address, the builder said that normally there's no charge and they get that service restored to a new house, and there was not. We are still too far away for sewer services. By the way, that distance is 350 feet. So if your property is within 350 feet, you are required by city law to actually attach to the sewer. So that cost becomes yours. Black Hills Energy does not have a main feed close enough to service our address, so everything in our house is electric. When it came to city water, I was told repeatedly that it could be done, but it would require us to get special permits and pay environmental impact fees, and that the city would allow the builders, my builder's plumbers, to tap the line and would need to be horizontally bored under both Fletcher and 7th Street, and that expense would be ours and ours alone. We agreed to pay the nearly $20,000 for that to happen so that we could have good, clean city water. Ours wasn't a budding property that they mentioned before, because we're close enough that we could pull it from over here. When we received the letter about the creation of the water district, we were taken aback by the fact that we might again have to pay for the city service that we've already paid for that we would never need. When I went to the open house in early December, I got to meet several of my neighbors. That was great, and that I had not met before, and a majority of them were also against the project. They were against the project because of the cost to each property owner, not because of the overall idea of making city water available to these properties. It was expressed that this large amount of money was just to put in a water line, not to actually get city water to each of the homes on the properties. That would be the responsibility of the property owner in addition to the cost of the project. It was also mentioned that since the city annexed the properties in 2017, there's been no significant benefits to the property owners despite increased property taxes. It would seem that this infrastructure that is proposed should be the responsibility of the city in its entirety. If the property owner wants to tap the line to get to the city water to their property, that should be their expense. I know that this project was not initiated by the city and that it was requested by one of the property owners, but I think it is important to consider all of us when deciding how to spend our money and tax dollars for such a small number of households, and if it is something the city deems to be necessary, it should be the responsibility to fund it in full. Isn't that what we pay taxes for? Thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions for our testifier? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hi there. Keith Spilker, 900 Fletcher Avenue.
and I was the one who made this application. I'm also here today representing another family member who owns property here, and my property is here. So basically, 20% of the property owners I am speaking for here today. I would like to do what Greg has, and that's get city water. I built this house in 1983 in the country, which was fine, put on the well and the septic system and so forth. But we're in an area of the city which has a difficult time coming up with water, and especially quality water. And so we've kind of battled that since we built the house in 1983. The water in my place is much better than in my folks' place, but for the most part, what you're dealing with is water that has an odor, water which is very hard on plumbing, and water which is very hard on clothing when you're washing. So we've been through multiple dishwashers, clothes washers, because of water issues, and just having clothes that don't last as long as they should. So I am here, it's probably unusual, asking to spend my money and obviously the money of other property owners to improve the situation out there that everybody should be able to have city water. I would love to have city sewer also, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards at the moment. So I'm starting with step number one, trying to get city water that I can hook up to. Because I am concerned about eventually having to do any kind of well repair, and I'd rather put my money into getting city water than putting water into well repair and still have the same water I have today. So I appreciate your time, and if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Any questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming down. We appreciate it. Hello, sir.
Hi, my name is Kevin Anderson. My address is 5900 North 7th. I'm opposed to project. My property is right here. My house is on the south end of that property, which is far away from Fletcher as you can get. If the pipe were to go in, I've still got another 600 or 700 feet to go to get to my house. I've got water and sewer right across the street on 7th. So it's not a real big advantage for me. Yeah, city water would be great. The water we get from our well isn't that terribly bad. We've lived with it for 14 or 15 years now, and haven't had any shortages or anything like that. You have to deal with a few things with it, but it's usable. We process ours and I drink it. I don't have any issues. One of my biggest concerns with this whole project is the lack of the sewer involved, and I don't want a 1-2 punch here where next year it's 20,000 and then 2 or 3 years later you come back and say, oh, we want to do a sewer now. And so my thoughts are, if we're going to do it, let's do it. But same token, we got annexed in 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. And we really haven't had the benefits of any city good stuff like water and sewer and Cablevision. You know, we've been like that for quite a while, but my thought is, for me personally, it's a lot easier to go across the street, as the previous gentleman did, and I'm sure it'd be a lot cheaper for me too, and a lot shorter distance, but I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. Any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, Larry Ogden, 1300 Fletcher. Most of us would prefer the city water. Our wells are not the greatest at all times or whatever, but at the same time, most of us are all over 60 years old now. And thinking about retiring, some are retired. Now, I have a single income coming into my place. My portion of this is $25,000 for my frontage, plus already talking to a plumber is going to cost me another $20,000 or more to hook up to the house. Now, I know we're running about a 50-50 60-40 on this approval of this thing with the neighbors. Tom King on the corner, he could actually have city water also off of 14th Street. Now he's living in Arizona. I texted him earlier today, and I don't know if he sent anything here to the city clerk or anything like that. But anyways, I know he's not for it either. Worst part about this is, I asked about this when I bought my property back in the 80s or whatever, and it was said it was in the 20-year plan. Well, we're going on almost 40 years now. And like I said, now I'm 62 years old, and most everybody here is over 60 years old or retired. And like I said, I have a single income, and I have some other issues going on that has cost me a number of dollars, whatever. I ended up buying another piece of property in Grafton, Nebraska, or whatever, to handle some of this or whatever. So I myself, thinking about trying to retire with this added expense of another $40,000 if I want to hook up to this, but $25,000 just to have it in the street, you know, is just a burden on me, on myself. Heartland Homes has properties next to me, which they are on the verge of coming up towards Fletcher Street. And from my point of view, it will be easier for me and cheaper for me to wait for Heartland Homes. I've had to wait all this time. What's a few more years to where I will be able to hook on to that water line coming up from the north heading south. And I believe it'll be less than 300 feet away from me or whatever like that. And I don't approve of this trying to do a water line without a sewer. It just doesn't make sense. We put a 28-inch, 26-inch main, which is in my front yard, 75 feet out in my front yard, that I cannot hook up to. The city at that time could have done this line at that time, along with this other loop that they put in. So all I'm seeing is a big burden on a lot of us that are retired or thinking of retiring. But all in all, we would all welcome the city water. We would. We got annexed. We got the taxes. All we have is the city cops and the fire department. That's all we've gained out of this annexation. That's it. We have no cable. We got no natural gas. Our propane bills. It's unbelievable. That's what I got to say.
Well, thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. Any questions for our testifier?
Thank you.
No? Thank you, Mr. Ogden. We appreciate it. Was there anyone else who would like to speak on item 5A? All right, very good. Do we have any questions for staff on 5A? Yes, Councilman Shob, why don't you start us off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Carey, would you mind coming up and helping me get a whole picture of this? Mr. Schaefer, thank you. Councilman Bowers and I were comparing notes right before the testimony began, and we're seeing similarities between these two, the previous agenda item and this agenda item, including the cost to the city. In one case, the commission recommended no. In this case, the commission is recommending adoption. Can you, the cost of the city, help me understand how the numbers worked on this one?
Sure. David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. I think there's one critical difference between the two.
Please.
One is that the previous item, we were talking about providing city service to undeveloped property. This one is, there are homes on the properties along Fletcher Street. So that is a critical difference as far as the way the committee looked at this and the way the staff looks at this.
Thank you, that's very helpful. I appreciate that. Mr. Schaefer, do you have anything to add to that? That's basically what he's, we'll go with that.
What he said, that's the biggest difference. We talk about community benefit from a health and safety standpoint. There are not people living on that one. There are no homes there. There are no people there. There's nobody depending upon water there. that would be strictly to develop. This, you have human beings living and needing that water.
Follow-up question, if I may. Based on the testimony of the residents from that area, is the neighbors kind of 50-50 split on whether they would like to do this or not? If the council said yes and adopted this, do the ones who don't wish to be included get to opt out? Are they forced to do this, to get the assessment and pay the...
The assessment would be levied against their property, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All property owners, yes.
All right, very good. Other questions? Councilwoman?
I have one question. In reading the fact sheet on this one, there is an existing water line along Fletcher, yes?
28-inch main.
There is an 30-inch main?
It's a non-tappable main. It's basically a transmission main.
Okay, tell me about that, because I feel like I've seen a hydrant on Fletcher.
Right, there's hydrants on there, on the transmission mains. Again, that goes out to fill the reservoirs. So those are larger mains. We don't maintain repair parts for those, so they're allowed to go down for longer periods of time. So we can't have customers tapped on them because they could be down for weeks.
Okay. And so it's a large main. It's has hydrants.
Yes.
But it's not always full, so you can't tap it. So
That's a transmission main, but it's connected into the distribution system.
yeah,
Right,
and
so it always has water in it.
it always has water in it.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So if this project were to go forward, are you going to dig a trench parallel to this main, this transmission main?
Right, yeah, either on that same side or on the south side. We're on the south side of the road to the west of here. So again, that would all be part of the design as to where where to locate it with other utilities in the area.
And for the gentleman who sits at the corner, has already picked up water from across 7th Street, tell me a little bit about the rationale why he needs to pay for the current, I mean, if this assessment goes forward, tell me the rationale why he needs to pay for this assessment.
Again, he was given a non-abutting agreement which gave him access to the water main that is not.
Water main come in front of your property, you will also have to do that.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And then his tap would then be moved over onto the main abutting his property. So he would no longer go across the streets. The reason he had to go across was because when that water main was put in there, that was county roadway. So we're required to put it inside of a casing across those roadways. So there was not an opportunity to tap right in those areas. That's why he had to go kind of over to the southwest corner to tap.
All right, thank you.
Other questions for staff? Councilman?
I just got one question. Sorry. I just got one question, and as my friends know, sometimes I obsess and can't let things go. If for what I heard you say in response to Councilman Shoup's question is that because there's houses already built on this property, that's why the recommendation is moving forward on this one. But because there's not houses built on the lots that we're talking about with Miss Pickett, that's why there is a recommendation to deny that. So if I'm understanding correctly, what's that?
I'm sorry, keep going.
Okay. You do a good job of making me prevent myself from sounding stupid. So when I hear Benny speak up, I listen. If there was property, or if there was houses on those properties, then that would have been possibly a recommendation to approve it then for Ms. Pickett's.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
I think you just have to look to the north where there were houses built of Miss Pickett's. All of those properties had houses built, and that's why Water District 1205 went forward.
Yeah, that's a good point. That we did a district to the north where there were houses.
We stopped when there was no more houses.
Thank you so much.
Other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on to item 5B.
Item 5B is repeal ordinance number 21008, which created alley paving district number 365 for the north-south alley from South Street to Park Avenue between South 9th Street and South 10th Street.
Hello again. Third time.
Third time. It's also the last time you're going to see me tonight. Laura Peglis with Asset Management. So Alley Paving Special Assessment District number 365 was created by ordinance number 21008 in 2020. This district was to pave the alley from South Street to Park Avenue between South 9th and South 10th. So on this map, it will be the blue line down the center there. Majority petitions were not received for this paving district, and the original requester actually doesn't own property that abuts the alley any longer. Thus, LTU is requesting that the repeal of ordinance number 21008 that created the district. And should any of the property owners here wish to pave the alley in the future, they could submit another request to pave it.
Right, very good. Questions for staff? Okay. Oh, Councilwoman Washington with a late question.
Yep, late breaking. Just so it's on the record, when was this paving district created? And for how many years is a paving district allowed to stay open before the city petitions it to be closed?
It was created in 2020.
Yes.
There is no limit to how long, but typically we would, and the property owners usually appreciate this, if we were to repeal it after a certain amount of time, and that can vary. I don't think we're consistent, and it hasn't happened by X date. Usually there's some negotiations. But we usually want to appeal it because when properties then sell, then the title company will say, is there any assessment district or pending assessment district? And we have to say, yes, there's a pending assessment district. And then people go, well, wait a minute, there's a pending assessment district. Usually makes it, adds questions to a home sale or a property sale that after a certain period of time, really it's just probably better in everybody's interest to repeal it and let it go and start the process over.
All right, thank you.
Other questions for staff? All right, see none. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5B? Anyone else here for item 5B? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, let's move on.
That concludes section 7 of our agenda, or I'm sorry, section 5 of our agenda. We shall move to section 6. Resolutions first readings are items 6A through 6F. Section 7 ordinances first readings or related resolutions are item 7A. Section 8 is our pending list, items 8A through 8H.
Tonight is an opportunity for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and not plan to appear on a future agenda may do so during public comment at this time. Individuals are allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak regardless of the number of topics. For the month of March, public comment is, one of the dates is tonight, March 25th, 2024. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during public comment? If so, please come down. If there's more than one person who would like to speak during public comment, please get prepared by coming down to the other microphone, and we'll just go back and forth. Hello, welcome.
Hello. So my name is Tuli, 10020 White Pine Road. So I'm here to talk about Palestine for sure. Recently, in a city council meeting in North Carolina, there's a girl who come in and they only allowed 2 minutes over there, not 5 minutes here. She used up 1 minute and her speech just went viral. Millions of people watch it over. I know if you saw it, but my point here is not my speech going to go viral. I'm sure it's not going to. But my point is people are watching. Like people are constantly viewing all of these and to make sure who's take action and who doesn't. We even have like map to track which city put out a resolution and vote on it and passed it and which city doesn't. So far, like state around us, like South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, even Iowa, Kansas City, Missouri, all of them have a city that passed a resolution, but not us. So yeah, we're taking note to see which city doing action and which doesn't. Even inaction is action, which means you ignore us or you don't care about this. there's just so many injustice going all around the world, and I'm sure any of you here sitting here were fighting before or are fighting right now for some injustice. I'm sure about it. But a lot of people don't recognize that activism doesn't work like math, where you do something bad, it's a negative something, and you do something good, it's a positive something. Add them up, it can be equal 0, which means you in general are a good person. It doesn't work like that. It works more like when you mix salt and water together. Doing something bad is some salt in there. Doing some good is some water in there. Doesn't matter how much water you in, but something bad in there, there's do some salt in there. Maybe you cannot taste it, but it's in there. So if you do good in some battles but ignore others, even when people constantly come to all the public comment like this and keep telling you for the last 6 months, there's still no response. In general, to me, all of those things that you fight for are just performative activism. Because if you fight for some certain groups and ignore others, it just doesn't make sense to me. Have you ever questioned yourself, what if what's happening in Gaza happened to your community? Because Israel just become a state 1948, right? And before that, they was considered to put Israel where? There's a couple options. There was 3 options or something. It was not there before 1948. So what if they put Israel in the middle of the U.S.? And what if Hamas was in the city of Lincoln? Will you fight for it, or will you just ignore like right now, right? There are reasons why we keep coming and we keep wanting you to put a resolution on the agenda, because the tie between Lincoln and what's happening is so close. Right here in our town, right next to Walmart, where you go shopping maybe every week, General Dynamics is right there, and on the list of weapons sent to the IOF, General Dynamics is one of them. We have a tie so close to that, and our tax goes straight right there to pay for that. As a healthcare worker, I have to do an oath that to do no harm, and on the other side, my money, my tax is paying to kill so many people. Infants, mothers, babies, just so many, and it's been going. So I really cannot not live with this. It's go against my moral and my job as a healthcare worker. So for the last 170 days, I feel like we've been shouting into the void. We barely get any response from you. There's no resolution on the agenda to vote. I thought back in February, when we have pinned the 6-year-old girl who's stuck in the car with her already dead uncles and cousin. They found out 12 days later that she was killed, even though she was on the phone to have the Red Crescent to come rescue her, and the ambulance was also got bombed. I already passed my 5 minutes, but in conclusion, I would say if you continue to not doing anything, please own it. Please put in your resume for the next campaign that if you do a re-election or you want to campaign for another position that you're going to be for, put that on your resume that you ignore us for the last 6 months, not doing anything about this when it's so close to our city.
Thank you very much. If we have another testifier, please come forward. Hello, welcome.
My name is Nguyen Lê, and I won't state my address. I'm here today asking for lasting ceasefire resolutions. It's been 6 months. I know all of you too have been seeing countless videos and photos of horrible deaths in this genocide. I see starved children who are only skin and bones. Children die due to these forced starvations. I see the body of a girl being blown up, her body dangling from the wall. Do you know the reason why you're so comfortable witnessing these images? It's because you all perceive that these type of violence and suffering are a natural part of black and brown people's existence, glossing over the fact that it is the result of Western imperialism, colonialism, and capitalism, and the fact that you're on silence right now and don't oppose our government use of our tax money to fund this genocide and sending weapons means you're on complicit in this genocide. And how is it that you cannot hear the phrase that you're complicit in a genocide and you feel nothing? According to the UN, Israel has murdered an average of 95 Palestinian children per day, every single day for the nearly 6 months. 95 children per day for 6 months. Are you hearing this? I feel so pointless coming here because anytime there's someone coming here to talk about Palestine, the only thing you give them is silence, deafening silence. You must see us as inconvenience. Feeling sad the Palestinians are not dying any faster for you. The truth is you don't speak our language. You don't speak humanity. What exactly do you care about? Are you not ashamed of your lack of humanity? How do you sleep at night, knowing you have blood on your hands, that you're complicit in the genocide? I'm here not to just ask you to be better or to do better. I'm here begging you to be a human for God's sakes.
Thank you. If we have another testifier, please come forward. Hello, welcome.
Hello, my name's Anastasia Fenner. I live on 2315 D Street. I'm here yet again. I've been here for coming here for months, telling you all about like the vast need for a ceasefire in Palestine, and it seems as you all just truly do not care because you are all benefiting from your silence. Every one of you is benefiting because when you don't speak up, you get a little pat on the head by the general American public. It's like, okay, great, you're not saying anything about like, you know, brown people who are suffering, which is very common in this particular body. I also don't quite think that the numbers are 30,000 dead. We've been hearing 30,000 dead for months now, and minds like Ralph Nader say that we need to actually look into these numbers a bit deeper, because when you see the incredible scale of famine that's going on, when South Africa has listed out the catastrophic rate of hunger and that people don't have water, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for a check for the next campaign, for it to blow over? Because I know Lincoln in particular is disgusting, because y'all aren't doing anything about the child-killing weapons that we make at General Dynamics. And I'm so positive that some of you have possibly even been giving money by the same weapons manufacturers that are here. Is that why you're so quiet on it? Are you being paid this blood money? I wouldn't be surprised if you aren't, Tom, because I know the Israeli military also helps train our police force. So are we that deeply invested in it? I am so tired of seeing the suffering. I'm so tired of seeing dead children. It's almost mind-boggling to stand here and like look at you individuals and you have said nothing. Do you not actually care? Like, this man can be nice to you sometimes, and Tom, Becky is like, sometimes he'll be like, oh yes, I do, I understand, it's very moving. Then be moved, call someone, go do something. Here we are doing something. You are the small means of power that we have with to communicate, and you've done absolutely nothing. I've seen no Facebook posts. I have seen your bullshit crocodile tears when people have shown you photos of what's actually going on. Gaza now looks like what Germany, what looks like in these horrible like war films. Like, it looks like the rubble that we give people awards for. Give people like, oh, you did such a great job of, doing a fantastical retelling of this horrible thing with computer graphics. We're going to give you an award for that while we go and recreate that exact same thing with people who are starving. We're going to bomb them and let them rot, especially during like a holy time like Ramadan, which is all the more disgusting that you have said nothing. Also, not to be like a rank Nebraskan, but it's also pretty embarrassing that the fucking Hawkeyes have decided to call for a ceasefire before this clown institution. How can anyone take anything what you do seriously? You can go and have a drink at Barrymore's while kids are dying, right? While people manufacture the same shit that is gonna go kill that kid, might be putting money in your wallet. But sure, you'll just stand here with me, uncomfortable for a little over a minute, and then you'll go home where you don't have to deal with us because you don't even like to really have public comments. Because then people come and tell you that you're not doing your job right because you're not serving us. You're not doing what we've asked you to do. We've asked you to stop the bleeding. The bleeding hasn't stopped. Iowa City passed a resolution in January. Disgusting. We're here almost April, and Lincoln, Nebraska can't get off its ass and say, we do not support the slaughter of children. We do not support mothers drinking salt water. We do not support the mass starvation of 500,000 people in North Gaza. Do you support it? Do you not support it? Because you just sit there with these blank looks on your faces, or you don't look at the person speaking to you at all.
We've reached the 5-minute limit.
I'm sure we have. Free Palestine.
Thank you. If we have another testifier, please come forward. Hello, welcome.
Hello, my name is Dave Merritt. I live at 2315 D Street, number 4. And my heart is just continued, filled with sadness, such sadness at the events that continue to unfold. It's very difficult to stand in front of you and say anything that hasn't been said. I do not know why the council, any members of the council have not reached out. And I guess other cities have different political attributes that might make them voting for a ceasefire different, but I just can't believe that, and I'm just so sorry that I have to come down week after week, or we all have to come down and report to you these obvious things, and it just becomes more and more difficult to do so. And I just, like I say, I just appreciate your time. I'm hoping, and I'm still hoping, that our city can take some action to demand a ceasefire in Gaza. I can't say it any other way. I think that Hazel and Anastasia and all the other people that I remember their names, or they're just the countless people that have come up, this wonderful testifier that just preceded Anastasia and me today, just really riveting, very damning testimony from your constituents. I would please call you to action. I appreciate your time. I think I'm going to take the next 3 minutes in silence to honor the dead and suffering in Gaza and the West Bank. close and say I appreciate your time. I'm just really ashamed of all of us, but we don't have to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak during public comment? Please come forward. Yes. Welcome.
Hi. Jason Abels, 1200 South 23rd Street in Lincoln. I also lease some studio space over on 11th Street. I just came to talk to you about the proposed relocation of the transfer terminal. I know that a lot of my neighbors signed you a letter and sent it to you last week about that, and I don't think we've heard from any of you yet, so I just wanted to come down and ask you to delay that decision. I know you're not making it tonight. I'm not sure when that is. I don't think we've heard much about what that process is. But until the environmental analysis comes back from the federal government, which is required for us to get the grant to build this thing in the first place, and until the city has a purchase agreement or actually owns the land on which you're going to build it, it's hard to see how you can make the decision at all. And until those two things come, you shouldn't. There is no rush. The developer is waiting to find out what's going to happen with the convention center. Sometime this summer might be the earliest that they would make the decision. And then we've got 4 to 6 months to come up with plans, 4 to 6 months to review and approve those plans. And so we're talking about a year or a year and a half before anything even happens at this location. At most, they will be doing some staging of materials for the interior construction of the hotel. And appropriate, and I want to emphasize the word appropriate, mitigation structures can be put up to protect the people who use the bus system every day. It could be more than a chain link fence held down with some random bags of concrete. And we can take that time to really come up with I think, a decent proposal. This is all seems very rushed. I know they've been working on it for a long time, but there are quite a few details that don't seem particularly well thought out. I would also, just on the record, invite you all again, I know that was in the letter, but invite you all to come and tour our neighborhood, walk with us, see what the existing facility looks like, what the existing bus shelters look like, and then walk down the street, see what our neighborhood is, and then see what they're proposing to do at the corner of 11th and L. Because it's about the most Spartan plan I think you could come up with. I mean, it's nothing. It's punitive lighting, it's security cameras, it's a cop car, it's boarded up windows on an abandoned warehouse. That's basically what the proposal is. And I don't think that's something that you would do to a neighborhood that you're investing in or working on or trying to make a better place. So again, if you could all come and meet with us and talk with us, that would be great. I think Serena Freet from the Hot Mess has given you all contact information. So please do that. And all of these people are right. We should absolutely vote on a ceasefire resolution soon. Any questions?
Any questions?
The only thing I'll say is that the public hearing will be April 8th.
Okay. So is that when you'll decide, or is that when?
Or the temporary.
I'm sorry?
For the Star Train Advisory Board. You're talking about the
Yes, the relocation of the transfer terminal.
The
They
temporary
appeal, right?
Yeah, that will be April 8th.
That'll be, so you'll.
So, okay.
So I'm sorry, so do you vote on the 8th? Do you, what's happened? I don't know what the whole process.
I'll talk with you afterwards.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Let me take a moment here. Councilman Bowers, so there's a hearing?
Well, yes.
On April 8th?
Yeah, well, so it's been public knowledge that I appealed the Star Tran Advisory Board's decision, and that will be coming in front of the council for a first reading, and then there will be a public hearing. I mean, it was in the paper. I've talked to folks about it.
I've not received a copy of it.
Neither
Okay, I will make sure that you folks get a copy of it then, but
Well, and in the future, if it's going to be set for a public hearing, then let's not take testimony on it.
and that's your call as the chair. And, I mean, it's been public that I appealed the Star Tran Advisory Board's decision.
It has not, I've not received a copy of it. I don't know what makes you think it's public.
I mean, it was in the paper.
You
and there was-
stated in the newspaper you were planning on doing so. I've received no copy of it.
Okay, well, we can discuss after this.
Well, I wish that we would have not taken testimony if that were the case. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak during public comment? All right. Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I would make that motion.
I'll second the motion for adjournment.
Moved Weber, seconded Washington. Please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes,
Motion carried 7-0.
we are adjourned.